Now will we see the magic?
All right, where's Murray? Okay, who is it?
This is Jesus, kid.
Know then that it is the year 10,191.
Yes, we are bored. We're all bored now.
Hi, good night.
Good night.
Hello, and welcome to Mary vs. the Movies with your host, Mary Jones.
And Dennis Ling.
Oh my God! What? That was way more aggressive than I think either of us were ready for.
Sorry.
What? Look, I know it's been a long day,
I'm ready for this movie.
a long week, a long month. Are you? I'm
Yeah.
not. Oh no, I'm totally ready for this movie.
What's it again?
Well, welcome to episode 103.
Oh, yeah.
We were suggested. I'm trying to remember now which listener to the show suggested this, and I'm not. Boy, I have to apologize because I'm trying to think of who it is, or maybe they don't want to be known on the podcast. But anonymous. So this was this film was suggested to us by a listener to the show. A British horror movie called Society.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I'm ready.
Yeah. Are you?
Yeah.
You didn't even remember what the movie was until now.
I'm ready now.
Yeah. I believe it's a satirical horror movie. Why do I believe that? Because it's called Society. So you don't call a thing Society and make it a horror movie unless you're trying to, I don't know, make a few points.
So is Society the monster?
You know what? I bet it is, in a sense. I wonder what kind of society is the monster. It's 1989. They are still under Thatcher, which is, horror movie material enough, honestly. You once accused me on here of being an Anglophile. And I find that a dangerous thing to say because it makes me sound like some sort of weird, the English culture is the best. It's like, no, it's not. It's just I was raised with a lot of stuff that was, British. And so I have an affection for it. But, look, I am the first person who will happily trash the British Empire and all the rest of that. Anything that's like, yeah, let's pull down the British class system and the rest of it. If a movie's going to do that, yeah, please. I can't wait to see that. So I'm kind of excited to watch whatever this movie is.
Okay.
So, I don't know really anything about this movie.
And do you know any stars, anything?
Not a clue.
Is it set in London or countryside or?
I don't know. I don't know if this is like the suburbs around London. I don't know, Milton Keynes or whatever. Actually, I'm not entirely sure how close to London Milton Keynes is, but what's the other one that I had to ride through? I guess Croydon or something. It's all these kind of bleak industrial towns, ringing the larger, greater London area. I don't know if it's set there. I don't know if it's set somewhere in the north. I don't know if it's set in greater Manchester or whatever.
We haven't seen a lot of English films. We saw The Long Good Friday, which was amazing.
Oh, love that movie. With Neil and I.
With Neil and I, yeah. Also amazing.
Yeah.
So we have a pretty good batting average so far.
Yeah.
Technically, Honky Tonk Freeway is made by an Englishman, but
well, the director was English, but it was set in the United States. And Whoops Apocalypse isn't.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. That was interesting to pull apart, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think of what else we watched that was English in any way. And I'm sure there was another thing that
American Werewolf.
Yeah, that's that's an Anglo-American hybrid sort of thing, which is like the nature of the film itself, which is kind of great.
Yeah.
And that's a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't watched a whole lot of English films, and I kind of want to do more British stuff. What?
I can't believe we're talking about British films, and we don't even bring up A Passage to India, which we just watched.
I know, but I'm still kind of not scarred from that film. But yeah, that movie was a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
Oh wait, we watched 2 James Bond movies. I guess that counts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I guess.
Yeah, that brings the batting average down a little bit, especially those two.
Yeah, they're definitely not the best Bonds.
Though they may be pretty high in the 80s.
Anyway,
Anyway,
I don't believe this one is set anywhere but England.
so do all horror films have people die?
Oh, that's a really interesting question.
I mean, like slasher films, yeah.
Yeah, of course. But it depends on how you define horror.
Yeah.
You know, what do you consider a horror film?
Like one of my favorite is The Haunting, which has death toll of 1.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they don't have to have a high death toll, although death is generally kind of, yeah, that's going to happen, I think.
I'm just trying to think of horror films that have someone not die at all.
I have to admit, nothing leaps to mind.
It's like the money shot that they can't avoid.
Well, yeah, I mean, what is the greatest horror beyond like death, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to assume this movie has some death in it.
Do you think there's going to be a swanky like party, like a swanky?
Well, now, do you mean swanky as in high society?
Yeah.
Okay. A bunch of evil rich people?
Yeah.
Evil rich British people? Yeah. I mean that's just called the Tory party, but yeah, of course. Yeah, that's a good question.
I'm mostly throwing out things to see how wrong I can be.
Oh, sure, absolutely. I don't know. I don't really know anything about this film, so I don't know if there will be, a swanky party. I don't know if we're going to have something like, say, Vampire's Kiss, where it's like yuppies.
Yeah.
Think
there'll be cocaine?
I mean, it's England, so yes. No, maybe not. I don't know.
I wonder if there'll be an American character.
Oh, God, I hope not. Yeah, leave us out of it.
Was this highly recommended? Like, oh, this is an excellent film, or is it just scary? Or
I got the feeling it was more like something that they saw when they were a teenager and found interesting enough or memorable enough to recommend to us. And because it's, from the late 80s, maybe it has something kind of interesting about it that reflects back on the society at the time. So thinking about society at the time, this is coming towards the end of the Thatcher era, where the UK went through a bit of a rough patch.
Let's just throw out a death toll.
8.
All right, I'm gonna say 21.
21. Wow.
I know. If we had a third person, I would recommend that they do the one, the Price is Right style.
All right. You know what? I like this
One
idea.
body.
Yeah, I like this idea of like doing a death toll prediction. I'm going with 8.
Yeah.
You're going with 21.
21.
All right. Any other predictions you want to throw at me?
Sex scene.
Yeah. I'll bet there's some kind of a sexual situation.
Yeah.
The kind of thing that you edit for television, at least. Maybe not the most explicit, but yeah, probably something.
Yeah, I feel like that's more of a mid-'80s thing than a later 80s thing.
Oh, I don't know, because you're ramping up to the era of your Basic Instincts and stuff.
That's true.
All right.
Is there a ghost?
No.
Okay, not supernatural.
I mean, maybe they're all vampires.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything supernatural.
Is there blood going down marble steps?
No, probably not.
All right.
I don't think we're going to get an elevator full of blood either.
That's my prediction. There'll be blood flowing down marble steps.
That's very specific, which I appreciate. But yeah, you know what? I'll hold you to it. Let's see if we
and
if we get that.
a dead hand falling down with a gold ring on it.
God, wouldn't that be kind of great?
It'd be great if that happened like in the opening credits.
I would actually kind of question, what kind of knowledge you already held before watching this. So
No, I know nothing about this movie. I'm just making stuff up.
Okay. Well, should we go and find out if any of the things that you've thrown out at me are in this film?
Yep.
All right.
21. We're a little off.
Yeah, just a little. Tiny bit. tiny bit. So it's not an English movie at all, is it?
That was not in London.
No. Where was that set, honey?
That was set in Beverly Hills. I've been there.
Yeah, I've been there too.
Yeah.
On a tour bus.
Yeah.
Wow. Let me put it this way. The first time I remember being physically nauseated watching a film was in college when a not exactly boyfriend or whatever showed me the Todd Phillips documentary Hated, the G.G. Allen story.
Oh, you saw that.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
And I threw up after it.
Yeah.
Well, because if you've seen the film,
Yeah.
I understand. I came close this time.
Really?
Yeah. I don't do well with body horror.
Yeah.
Now,
There's a little bit of that.
is there? I didn't notice the shunting. Holy cow. I don't regret it, though.
Yeah.
No, not even. Not
I
at
feel
all.
like this is just warming you up for Dead Ringers.
You know, I kind of had that feeling. Dead Ringers is a film that I have put off watching for my entire life.
Now you've seen Videodrome, right?
Sure. It's shown to me, by the way, by the same guy who showed me Hated.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah, you gotta see.
I gotta see Dead Ringers at some point.
Dead Ringers, Naked Lunch.
Oh boy.
I feel like there's some others, but
Yeah, I'm sure there are. He also showed me what is it? Oh god, what's the Peter Jackson one?
Meet the Feebles.
No.
Dead Alive.
Dead Alive.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the other one he showed me at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
By the way, speaking of 2 a.m, this movie has a real 2 a.m. watching Cinemax vibe, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Perfectly. Like everything from the acting to the music to the sex. Really, it's the climax of the film that makes it stand out, I think. But
although it's definitely like broadly satirical.
it is absolutely, yeah.
Like a little more. I don't know. It's a little more highbrow than the usual slasher.
You know, it's one of these movies that I think the last half hour makes up for the first hour.
Right.
Although there are things in the first hour that are good and interesting. You know, it's not a cheap movie insofar as, boy, they put a lot of work into those prosthetics in that last half hour. It's not like the performances of we'll call them villains. Those are good, and they really take off in that last half hour.
Yeah.
But there's, like the first hour or so, again, there's stuff in it that is good, but it's also, it's on the cheap side. It like the score is all very, I said Cinemax, or like you're watching the USA Network.
Quality-wise, it looks a lot like the first Nightmare on Elm Street.
A little cheaper than that.
Oh yeah, a little cheaper, but the same kind of atmosphere, like the same kind of heightened, like suburban.
Yeah, that's not wrong. But I don't know, like, boy, I don't want to say anything negative about this movie because the ending is so insane.
Yeah.
And it's really good. But like the first hour, I was kind of like, well, I mean, this isn't bad, but this isn't really like shocking me.
To be honest, I couldn't figure out what was going on. I was
Yeah.
like, this could go anyway. Like I like at some point we thought it was switching protagonists, and I was like, why not? I don't like this guy.
Can we talk a little bit about what's his name, Billy Warlock?
I will say Billy somehow sounded like both Michael J. Fox and Emilio Estevez at the same time.
Yeah, that was a little weird and distracting because there were times where you'd hear like his cadences, and I'd just be like, "Oh man, that sounds."
You build a time machine out of a DeLorean? Like you could hear him just say that in some if you turned away, you felt like that might be the next line.
Yeah, he's very much the not so much the poor man's Michael J. Fox as the absolute destitute man's.
Yeah.
I guess he's playing a 17-year-old while the actor is like 30.
Yeah.
I mean, he is very 30, which, to be fair, was the style at the time. I mean, go back and watch, Beverly Hills 90210. You got a lot of people who are like 30 playing teenagers in that. So honestly, they're not really out of the mainstream with this.
Yeah.
As an aside, so this movie was supposed to be released in 1989. But in the United States, it didn't come out until 1992. It was mostly ignored. But in the UK, and maybe this is where I got the British connection from. I have no idea. Because, no, none of this film, there's nothing English in this movie except for the theme music.
Yeah.
I don't know where I got that from. But apparently this was a huge hit in the UK for some reason. for some reason, a place where, I don't know, people notice class.
Yeah.
And they're allowed to talk about it. You're not really supposed to talk about it in the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this entire film is set in Beverly Hills. Billy is a privileged son of Beverly Hills. Like his parents, we don't know what they do, but we know they're part of high society. And his sister is about to make her debut. She's going to a coming out party that he has not been invited to.
What is a coming out party?
Oh God. I mean, it's certainly one of those things that never happened to anybody in my family. But when you were part of like society, the upper crust, when girls reached a certain age, they had a coming out party, which meant that they went from being considered a little girl to eligible.
Huh.
So it was your entrance into early adulthood. It was usually like when you were 16. Now you're old enough to be married off to somebody.
Right.
Like, they would have like debutante balls and stuff. And again, this is just something that like people did in high society where I guess, it mattered who you married because wealth and all of that. Whereas, I mean, look, my ancestors were all like coal miners and you worked in factories and stuff like that. We never did that stuff. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Nobody in my family ever did this.
Did anyone disappear in strange circumstances around rich people at all?
Well, again, coal miners, upstate Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
There's a thing called the Molly Maguires. Anyway, so so the whole idea is like she's had her coming out party and he wasn't invited, and her ex-boyfriend is really freaked out because he has evidence. She broke up with him and he doesn't understand why. And so this all happens, we don't see any of this happening, but he sets up a tape recorder that will activate when people are talking around it, which I used to have one of those actually. So like that's not like a weird technology. That was something that used to exist. I don't know how well they ever worked. Mine never seemed to turn on when people would start talking. I mean, I brought it to like classes and stuff, in college. But so the idea is that he recorded what actually happened at her coming out party that the boyfriend was not invited to and the brother was not invited to. And this is our first, I guess, well, not our first inkling, but an early inkling that, hey, things are not okay in high society, because what he records is the daughter asking the parents, like, well, what's going to happen?
Now, there has been other weird things.
Oh,
though.
yeah. No, there has.
Like Billy has been seemingly hallucinating, like, odd things.
Yeah, odd things, odd interactions with his parents and his sister. There's one scene early on where he thinks he sees her in the shower with her, like her body's in these weird positions that don't make a lot of sense.
It's like her boobs on her back.
Yeah. Like the bodies don't really make sense, but it's one of those things where it's like you're not seeing it directly on, right? So he has this inkling that things are not right. And then the friend comes forward, the ex-boyfriend comes forward with this tape, and what he hears them saying is she asks, like, so what happens at my coming out party? And I guess it's mom and dad explain, well, first we have the meal, and then we copulate. And then, you'll do it with us and you'll do it with these other people. And, and it's, I was not prepared for that.
Yeah.
It's wow.
Like,
first of all,
suddenly the movie takes a turn.
Boy, does it ever. Like, you start off with kind of like, oh, there's creepy vibes from like the parents and the sister and everything. And he's spying on his sister. That's weird. But, it's one of these things where it's just like, oh, okay, I guess we're just having like creepy vibes. But then they're just kind of like come right out with it and say, oh, no, yeah, incestuous like orgies are going on. It's just like, oh, it's going to be one of those films. Okay. Which, to be fair, is like 90% of the taglines on Pornhub now. Yeah. So what does that say about our society? Anyway, yeah. So he, of course, is freaked out. He tries to go to his therapist, who has been treating him this whole time for, nervousness or whatever. And the therapist listens to the tape, and there's nothing on it that sounds strange. It's just mom and dad and the sister in a car driving around and talking about driving and whatnot, and it's completely innocuous. And this pattern repeats through the film, where Billy uncovers evidence and he tries to show the evidence to people, and it either has been covered up or it's been changed, or like something goes wrong so that there's no evidence to be found, and nobody believes him, that things are not right, that people are disappearing or being killed, or that there are these bizarre orgies going on.
The thing is, he's telling all the wrong people, though.
Well, yeah.
Like, he keeps telling authorities, and who are the goo?
Yes. So yeah, we spent like an hour or so following Billy around, trying to figure out what's going on, and suspecting everyone and becoming more and more paranoid. And
and he hooks up with one of the high society girls.
Well, that's true. One of the high society girls has been coming on to him. There's a scene early on, I guess, when there's a debate in the high school. He's running for class president against a nerd. And the girl is essentially doing like a Basic Instinct, but with her underwear still on.
Yeah.
And this is, I guess, before Basic Instinct, in fact. And then later he ends up at a party where they end up hooking up. And this is a party being thrown. What? That's Todd Ferguson.
Yeah,
he's like the richest. What a name! It's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't hurt that it reminds us of Turd Ferguson.
Yeah.
From Celebrity Jeopardy, but yes, yeah. So Todd Ferguson is throwing this big party that Billy would not normally be invited to because he is not well liked by guys like that. And he goes to hook up with this Clarissa girl, and it gets weird.
Yeah.
It gets real weird. Like her arms are sort of doing things that they shouldn't be able to do and bending in weird ways. And so while they're having sex, he kind of freaks out and tries to, get out from under her and everything. And then we cut to the next day, I guess, the next morning, and she's making him tea and wearing a bathrobe in this amazing, like, purple and white room with giant tusks in it. I mean, this is some real, I've brought up the Twitter account Cocaine Decor before, but this was...
Yeah, this counts.
Yeah, there are some amazing sets in this, actually.
Yeah.
Just in terms of, like, the art direction of some of these rooms. But I just couldn't get over, like, she's just making him tea. It just seems so weird and domestic. And then she says something like, how do you like it? Do you like cream, sugar, or for me to pee in it? And I'm just like, again, not expecting that line.
No.
At all. And what's weird is she ends up, like, betraying high society towards the end, and like there's no character motivation for that. Not really. I guess she loves him or something, but who knows.
It's the whole common people thing, Once she sees the roaches climb the walls, she can just call her dad.
Well,
although we don't know her dad.
Actually,
she has this weird mom.
She has this weird mute mother who has an attraction to people's hair.
Yeah.
And I think tries to eat it because she coughs up a hairball at one point. But mom isn't part of high society either.
Or is she?
Well,
I don't know.
She's not part of the orgy.
Yeah.
So I don't know what exactly is going on there. At one point, Billy is hospitalized for an accident because, like, he thinks he sees this, like, this one guy's going to tell him what the secret is, and then the guy he thinks he's killed, and he's, but then the body disappears, and the car accident is switched, and at one point, Billy ends up in the hospital, and
he's drugged and put in the hospital.
That's true.
And then escapes.
Like that section's a bit confusing.
It's
like
what
exactly is happening here? And like all of a sudden his personality like completely changes, and then it changes back,
and that's when we were like, wait, did he change and now this guy's the good guy? Like, it was
because all of a sudden he's got this friend who suddenly we start following around for like 5 minutes, and I if the film has a weakness, I think it's this part. No, I'm serious, because for the most part, it's, I'm not saying it's tight, because, apparently when they were making this movie, the closer they got to the ending, the more they got into, hey, let's just kind of backfill the weirdness, and so they would film extra scenes and put them in, which I think could account for why some of the characterization seems weird and disjointed and doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
But they also added the therapist stuff, which I think works really well. Because if that therapist wasn't there, you'd just have no idea what was going on. It's just weird things happening.
So when he escapes the hospital, I guess, he goes home and grabs a big old kitchen knife.
And the thing is, we've seen this before.
Yeah.
This was the very beginning of the film. And it turns out, it's a bad dream. Who knows what?
Yeah. The opening of the film is him, in the dark in his own house holding a knife. and
The wrong way.
the wrong way, gripping it so that the way that you shouldn't hold a knife because he's going to cut himself, which he ends up doing when he's awake. He escapes back to his house. In come his parents. I mean, he has no reason to trust his parents, but they are his parents, I guess. And so he's just like, I don't know, lets his guard down for a second. And next thing you know, in comes everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody. Like, I don't know if they were all hiding in the shadows like a surprise party or what, but all of a sudden the lights come on and they've got a noose around his neck.
Well, like a collar type thing.
Yeah.
Like the type of thing you would, to control a dog or something.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like a lanyard in a pole.
Yeah.
And they have that around his neck for the rest of the film, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody is in fancy dress for a big party. And then they cut to like the outside and there's people like pulling up and there's valets and everything. Yeah. And next thing you know, it's like a high society event.
Which I predicted.
Yes, you did. Where, let's put it this way. It kind of makes Eyes Wide Shut look like the birthday party at the end of Winnie the Pooh. Because, this isn't just, hey, it's high society and we indulge in orgies, which is an accusation towards accusation. Hell, we know it actually happens. I mean, we all know about Epstein's List and everything else. But, you can go back to like the Hellfire Club and things like that. What normally, at least until the last couple of years, isn't brought up is the idea that, they're like sucking the life force out of people.
Yeah.
The ending is kind of QAnon the movie. I mean,
maybe that's where QAnon got.
Well, I wonder actually. So yeah, it turns out at these bizarre incestuous orgies, you not only have that part, and you not only have them capturing the lower classes and feeding on them, but they don't even consider it cannibalism because as far as they're concerned, they're not the same species as us.
Which we see.
Which, to be fair, they're not. They're not aliens. Billy accuses them of being aliens at one point.
And they laugh at him. It's just a lot of laughing at Billy, which is... Yeah,
it's fine. I mean, he's kind of been annoying through this whole film anyway. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the fact that they find it hilarious that when he accuses them of being aliens is like, yeah, actually that's fine. They're from planet Earth apparently.
Yeah.
And they look like humans, but they can shapeshift their bodies into these really disturbing forms, and their mouths will grow these like proboscis. Yeah. That will then attach to humans and like suck on them in a very distressing image.
Heads come out of butts.
There's fisting involved, and I do mean there's fisting involved, and the fist goes all the way up through a mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a lot happens in that ending. Like I could try to paint you a picture in words, and yet I don't know that I can, because I sat there the whole time watching this, and my mouth was just agape the whole time. Which, to be fair, so was everyone else's on screen.
The funny thing is, you sent me a picture of yourself.
Yeah.
Earlier in the film.
Yeah, before this.
And you were back then. You were like,
Oh yeah, yeah. I was not prepared for the party.
No.
No. I don't even, folks. Look, I don't often say seeing is believing, but you got like this. I went in with no expectations. I can't even say it exceeded my expectations. My mind is still reeling from what I saw. There are things physically happening that can't happen. It's amazing. It is some incredible special effects.
And we read that they're inspired by Dali.
Yeah.
What's that painting?
The boiled beans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something.
Whatever. It's at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. I've seen this painting many times. Yeah. Okay. Here's the thing. I will often roll my eyes when people say, "Oh wow, that's so surreal. Oh, that's so weird. Oh, that looks like a Dali painting." No,
this was it.
This is it. This is the real deal, man. I think
all those times people said that. Nope.
No. They nailed it. I think if Dali had lived to see this, he'd just kind of be like, "Yeah, man, you got me." That's kind of what I was going for. Yeah. We see them devour the ex-boyfriend, who is not dead apparently. Well, he is now. Yeah. And then it's Billy's turn, Todd Ferguson first challenges him to a fight.
Well, actually, Clarissa lets him
Well, that's
go,
true, yeah.
But then it's really just so he can see his parents and sister be weird.
Be extremely weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, mom and sister kind of meld into this one weird clay person. And then dad has his face coming out of his own butt and
What's
says,
the line?
I guess I really am a butthead or something to that
Yeah.
effect. And then he blows a raspberry at him as a fart.
That was kind of funny.
No. I think it's an amazing scene.
The thing is, so like, I don't usually appreciate humor like that, but things are so intense then
Yeah.
that like sometimes humor really helps.
Oh, no, I think it had to happen.
It's like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's such a silly scene, but after watching a person be torn apart by just a swimming pool's amount of KY jelly covered people, I think I needed like the 30 seconds of sister mom troll person and butt dad.
Yeah.
It was kind of a relief.
Yeah.
At which point, like, I just started laughing hysterically after that because, again, I had been watching like this insane visual. And then, I needed that. The movie really did need that at that moment.
I kind of appreciated how we actually saw the ending in the very beginning. Like, like they have it in slow motion. It's very blurry, and you're like, "What am I looking at?" There's things moving around. What is this?
I had no idea what I was looking at.
And it actually was like the craziest part of the last scene of that dolly weird arm thing. But you couldn't tell what it was because it's just, and your brain is like, I'm not seeing what I'm seeing. But no, we were.
Yeah, we sure were.
But then, like in the beginning, like his little dream he has or whatever wakes up from is exactly like what happens before the party. It's like almost like it was a premonition or whatever. It rhymes. It's nice. But
no, I do like how that worked. So eventually, I guess Billy and what's her name? Colleen? No,
Clarissa.
Clarissa. Billy, Clarissa, and their
Friend.
buddy.
Yeah, let's
I
not
don't remember the friend's name. They escape the party. They basically just run out of the room.
Yeah.
And jump into his Jeep and drive away.
No.
Well, okay. What am I missing?
Todd.
Oh God,
He
you're right.
fights Todd.
You're right.
How did you block that out?
Oh, I don't know, because I want to sleep tonight. Oh, that's right. So he gets into the fight with Todd and takes a cue from what he had just seen and decides to, as Todd is going into his face with Todd's shunt,
Yeah.
Billy fists him
Yeah.
all the way. And then pokes his eyes out with his fingers because he's got his arm all the way up there.
Yeah.
And then pulls the head down through the body and turns Todd inside out.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I just sat there stunned. Like, I mean, it's a perfectly logical thing to do in that situation if you can do it.
The weird thing is, it's like, so when Todd is about to shunt him or something, it almost seemed as if Billy was shunting him back or something.
Yeah.
It was like, because like his like the side of his face was like all this weird discolor. It was almost like, wait, is he part one of them or something? Or
Yeah,
I don't know.
and they do kind of say at one point that you're not really one of us, and so I don't know if Billy's supposed to be adopted or what.
Yeah.
I
Which
guess
he says at one point, I think I'm adopted.
that's right, but they never confirm it until I guess that's sort of the idea at the end is that they decided to raise him
Yeah.
essentially to be eaten later.
Yeah.
Well, which is why we don't have chickens because that feels weird. Like, that doesn't feel right. He turns Todd inside out, and everybody's just like, "Whoa, you can do that."
Yeah. And Todd was going to be an intern in D.C.
Yeah.
But they haven't
Well,
done
that's the thing. We haven't even talked about the fact that, like, the people at this party, it's not just his parents and some high society people, but there's like a judge.
Yeah.
There are people connected to DC. I mean, it's exactly the kind of people it's like Eyes Wide Shut.
And it's also like they live.
Yes.
I mean, it's almost exactly they live, except it's grosser.
Oh, so much grosser.
Yeah. Very wet. It's the wetness, because it's not blood.
It's not just wet. It's not just wet. It's squishy.
Yeah, squishy.
That's the thing. There's a lot of squish sounds in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm not saying I'm turned off to sex for a while, but wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of want to escape the mortal plane after that. But yeah, so they do escape. And what I like is, to them, this is like, okay, well, our toy got away.
Yeah.
Like, this does not bring the downfall of society.
No.
This isn't going to change them. This isn't like, the cops are protecting them. They're the most powerful people in the world. There's literally nothing that Billy can do that will change the situation. This is the rich and powerful, and they feed on the poor.
I gotta say, I'm wondering, are the cops human? Are they, are they just paid? Like,
Oh, yeah. That's a good question.
like is this like They Live too, where there's humans working with the
Yeah.
aliens, although they're not aliens?
They are
Wow.
whatever they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, good question.
I don't know.
We don't actually know. And
Now there is a sequel to this, I think.
oh, is there?
I didn't read anything about it.
I don't know, man. They kind of put it all on the table in this one. I don't know what would a sequel do?
Yeah, well,
I mean, I kind of feel like this says it all, doesn't it? So yeah, because like the end of the movie is just like, oh, I guess we got to find a new intern.
yeah.
Like that's the end of the movie. Is the judge just kind of says, well, I guess I have a new opening in Washington, and that's it. Cut to credits. At which point they play a song that is the Eton boating song, like the school song of Eton, but with different lyrics.
And they played it in the beginning, but the beginning you couldn't really hear the lyrics. So.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was at
Yeah.
the beginning. For those who don't know, Eton is the most exclusive private school in the UK where all of their prime ministers and sometimes kings are taught. Yeah, it's the ultimate place that should not exist. That's the best way I can put it. So this movie rocks.
Yeah.
This is great. Yeah. Yeah, so I couldn't remember who told us about this, and so I was tweeting while I was watching this, and it was a listener to the show, Ben Cox.
Oh,
So
okay.
thank you, Ben, for recommending this movie. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I am glad we watched it. I think I'm gonna go throw up now.
So you married your daddy with a different name. Sexy dying in high society. Sexy dying in high society. Sexy dying in high society. Sexy dying in high society.
So that was Society, starring Billy Warlock. Ben Slack was Dr. Cleveland, the therapist. Patrice Jennings played his sister Jenny. Heidi Kozak Haddad is Shauna, which I think is his girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ben Meyerson is Ted Ferguson.
Oh, man.
He was very Ted Ferguson.
Yeah, wasn't he, though?
Devin Vasquez?
Like, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I didn't recognize any of these people.
No.
This was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so directed by Brian Usna, who I guess he also did Reanimator, or what else?
Bride
did he
of Reanimator?
Yeah, he did like the Reanimator movies and stuff. Written by Zeph E. Daniel. I don't really know anything else he wrote. So
wait, who did the makeup effects? Mad Dog,
yeah.
Screaming Mad George.
Yeah, the all of the special effects were by Screaming Mad George, and boy, they are incredible.
Yeah.
I seriously, like, it looks so gross. It's really good. So, all right, you can follow us on social media, where you can see pictures of me just looking perplexed. We are Mary vs. Movies on Twitter, Mary vs. Movies on Instagram, Mary versus the Movies on Mastodon. No, I'm sorry. Mary vs. Movies at mas.to on Mastodon. Mary versus the Movies on Tumblr. And no, we are not on Blue Sky, because that's for the 1%, not us.
That's for the society.
That's for society.
And if you get an invite to them, be careful.
Yeah, seriously. We are on all of the major platforms. We are on Apple Podcasts, where you can rate and review the show, which we would really appreciate. You are on Spotify, where you can also rate and review the show, which, again, we would really appreciate. We're on Stitcher. We are on Overcast, Google Play. Pretty much anywhere you get podcasts, you can go to Libsyn and get our RSS feed and plug it into whatever your podcatcher of choice. We also have a Patreon where you can help support the show, and for $3 a month, we will not only send you stickers and a button, but Well, I mean, we're not going to send you stickers and a button once a month, but because that's a lot. Nobody needs that much like junk. But you can get access to our second podcast, Hollywood Avalon, where we watch Arthurian movies. That's right. So, going outside of the boundaries of the 80s, pretty much all Arthurian films are up for, viewing. And we put that out once a month, and it's a fun show.
Our most recent one was...
Our most recent one was Knights of the Round Table, which is a film from the 1950s, which was not bad, actually. It's not the best, but, it was kind of an interesting watch. And, so we're up to about like episode 4 now on that show. So, yeah, if you go to our Patreon, it's patreon.com/MaryVSMovies. And, again, you would help support the show because, as you know, this show is ad-free. And we pay all the costs otherwise ourselves for hosting and research and renting movies and all the rest of it. So plus, we put a lot of hours into making the show. And we both have full-time jobs on top of that. So and we're moving and we're tired. So no, but seriously, we appreciate anybody who joins the Patreon, helps support us. Yeah, next week.
What is next week?
Yeah, our next episode, we flipped a coin, if you remember.
Yeah.
And we are going to watch the Swedish film My Life as a Dog.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So, yeah, that'll be interesting.
That should be nice and normal.
It's called My Life as a Dog. Are you sure?
I mean, compared to this.
Well, yeah. All right. Well, until next time.
You're going to make a wonderful contribution to society.